Hey everyone, how you doing? Hope all is well. Jeff Fisher at Ride the Wave Foundation. I'm with Javon.
Let's
Javon,
go. How
what's
you
up?
doing, guys? What's
We
going
have
on, Jeff?
something new. Good. We have something new here. Now that they're going to be called Tide Talks. And what Tide Talks are, they're basically sessions where Javon and myself, we're going to discuss some principles of the book. You'll see earlier some postings, and we're going to talk about them specifically, whether it be a quote or something that we're taking from the book. It's also an opportunity for us to really have open talk about any subject together, typically in like a 15-minute format. But thank you so much for listening in. And we're going to really talk about one of the topics in the book, the man in the van. But also, for anyone who doesn't know, Javon is the CEO now of Ride the Wave Foundation and the co-host of the Ride the Wave podcast. And it's been a pleasure, even in the short period of time working with Javon so far. Huge asset. So Javon, man, you're a savior for being on. Really appreciate you coming on board, Ride the Wave.
Yes, sir. Like I always tell you, Jeff, I'm a servant, and I just thank God for being in position to do what He calls me to do for so many people like yourself. So let's do it,
Yeah.
brother.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's really nobody that I think would be a better fit. So it's all good. And I think that the opportunity we have, and we really appreciate the audience. So we're looking forward to getting to know you more and doing this thing. So we're going to pop it up. Javon's going to read off one of the man in the van, which was, you can see on Facebook. You should see it right now. So
Yep. So awesome stuff. So, guys, when we're doing these things because we're going to be doing them more frequently. So every time you see a post, you're going to see a video and an explanation about what that post is about more in depth from the man himself, Jeff Fisher. Shout out to that, right? So what I want to do is read the post that you guys probably already seen before, which is the man in the van. If anybody has the book, this is the first chapter. And it says, as Eli paused by the van, he felt something come over him, a soft wave of warmth and love. And why did he feel compelled to stop and check on the man in the van? He was nervous to approach, but he decided to respond. And curiosity got the best of him, and he tapped lightly on the window. And this is chapter 1, page 2, which is literally the foundation of this whole thing of Ride the Wave and why we're even here today. So I would like to throw it back to Jeff from the aspect of when it comes to the man in the van and the experience that you wrote about. Dive deeper into that, right? Like what did you feel internally, emotionally, and why do you think that it was up to you to actually make that move to the man in the van?
yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like I got like chills just listening to that. I'm almost, in a sense, in my mind, reliving, what that walk. And there was so much going on just in my life prior. I was somebody that was not Christian. I was baptized prior. And I had various interactions in town, met Mark Robinson. So there were unlikely relationships that I was developing prior. And during that, those lessons were people are not who I thought originally. Like the people that I'm walking past and that I normally wouldn't pay attention, they're much there's much more of a story behind them, and they're smart, and there's a connection between us that I never knew existed, essentially.
Mm,
And I never knew it was there. And I almost felt like, in a way, I was in the early stages of having something that I wanted to just give to other people so they could have those experiences. Because what was filling me up at that time was those personal connections in Morristown, New Jersey. So when I had walked across the street from, where my mom was at to get a drink at that convenience store, it was a normal day. I mean, I didn't really
mm,
think too much about it. I was visiting my mom, saw the van there, it was beat up. As I was walking by, though, that when the nerves kicked in, I think that every time, Javon, that's normal. I think that
yeah,
before responding to something that's outside of the box or outside of the norm, but when you have a call, I think if you don't do it, it ends up putting you in a position to be more distant from a more positive connection. that you have access to. So it's allowing, I look at it as it gave me access to something that I normally wouldn't have when I had done that. So I had a warm feeling come over me, God calling me to knock on the window to check on Daryl, essentially. And the van I saw there a bunch of times, it was beat up, and where I grew up and rode my bike. So I definitely wanted to check in and see. So I responded, pushed through the nerves, and emotionally, it was something that was life altering because I do a one word through John Gordon every year. I fueled Daryl with encouragement. I mean, I really did in the conversation. You're going to be fine. I love you, man. Like, keep it going. And that's, people don't do that to others. He
Yeah.
never had one person check up on him, unless there's a cop telling him to leave. That's what's missing. That's the key. And emotionally, Javon, when I went back across to my mom's house, I went right by the garage and I cried.
Wow.
It was deeply moving to me. And we had to get it out. The first episode, people go to the first episode, it was so raw and so passionate because we knew we had to get the story out. That's how
Mm.
impactful it was to us.
You want to know what's interesting, bro? Is that a lot of people don't do, you know, what God tells them to do, or even just good things because of fear, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, what if I get it wrong? Or what if somebody says something about me or anything like that? And an acronym that I like to use is, fear is false evidence appearing real, right? Which is something that you can use, but it's also, if you have this perspective, a lot of people think that strong people, or even like soldiers, or people that are in very intense tactical, gun shooting, all that type of stuff, that they don't have fear. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people that are great do things in spite of fear, right? They are scared. They are fearful, but that is not the thing that stops them. So I think what you're doing, or what you did, that led to all of this, even if you were feeling some type of way, right? We're calling it nerves, right? When those nerves are going crazy, or like the fear of something happening, do it in spite of, because once you do it, you start to realize that obstacles are not that big, right? They're very small once you take action on them and get over them. So I just wanted to pinpoint that, when it came to that first part of the story. Positioning, I would say, man, like, what do you think more people should be like in the midst of all that's going around in these environments, as far as homelessness and seeing people on the street? Like, do you think that this is more of a city thing with people that have the titles and the authority to do something? Or do you think that things would get done better if the community and everyday people who see these people every day, they get involved? Or is it a collaboration of the two?
Yeah. So the purpose of the mentorship program, so we have Wavemaker mentorship, and it is being proven to work within the community. And Javon, I know you sat down and were trying to work out the kinks. It's early
You got it,
development.
brother.
There was a buzz in town, and Heather and
Yeah.
Jose are involved too. And what it's about empowering from the inside out. So I think it should come from the inside out. It should be about us being in line, not so transactional, showing some empathy, teaching people the skills individually, whether you're average or homeless, to approach people on the street you normally wouldn't. So you're wearing the shoes and you have those principles. Radiate positivity. Nerves are normal. The art of asking questions. Skills to be able to gain that confidence and push through those nerves so you can do, because that's what's going to do it. The homeless individuals is not going to come from the top down. It's going to be if they empower themselves, how to be a go-giver, mental
Mm.
health strategies, but from a business perspective. Come on, you're a servant leader. So am I. That's our wheelhouse. We love
Yeah.
that. Let's utilize those principles within the community. Simultaneously, while that's happening, people are empowering each other, and it's fun. And those
Mm.
connections, the path is to the person's the best kind. Then making sure we're working with local community and town government to prove these principles and to show them, hey, look, these are good people. And also awareness. That's what the
Mm.
show, getting the word out there, building trust in the community through transportation, things like
Yeah.
that. So us showing who we are, Javon, to the community.
Mm.
But to answer your question, yes, inside out, principles are most important. That's number one. Nobody's going to do it for anybody else but themselves. Accountability, love tough. And we do have
Mm.
principles building up that we could help people to get to their purpose and go beyond as well.
I think it's good because it's for us that ride the wave. God is really the foundation and really the power that is keeping this moving. And I like to encourage people with just the biblical kingdom perspective of, in the scripture it says, consider others more than yourself, right? And I think that's the starting point for a lot of things is once you consider others more important than yourself, that servant leadership actually comes into play. And when you start to understand that there are many people in the world, and listen, I've been guilty of this just growing up in different cities. Like you get tired, right? Like people coming off of work, you get tired. You're like, I don't want to deal with anybody homeless. I don't want to deal with anybody in need. That's not my problem because I need help, right? And we know that there's different levels of struggle within the minds and the hearts of people that they go through their everyday life. But that's the whole point of starting with love, functioning in love, and giving love. It's that it's not all about you. Right. And the beauty of what we're doing is we're bringing that perspective not to the person in need but to the person who isn't aware, and we're bridging the gap so that we can just show off the glory of God. So I think that's a huge point that a lot of people need to understand. So with that, Jeff, I would say this, like, what do you think um when it comes to seeing, people like Daryl in the van, like, do you think that should be present inside the actual neighborhood? Or do you think that we should develop something for them or kick them out, right? Because some people may say, no, let's just kick out all of the people in need, all of the homeless people, because it's giving the neighborhood a bad look. Or should the heart be, man, like, should we create a place for them so that they can become better and be an asset again to the community?
Yeah, really great question, Javon. I think that almost like a neighborhood watch, that
Mm,
there should be a point person within a specific or a group of people where there would be acting out those specific principles. So
yeah.
within the community, like how I checked on Daryl, their responsible would be to do so, but train safely also,
Mm,
maybe have a little bit of
gotcha.
mental, but to be able, the point of this too is also when somebody is taught the mentorship principles, have the ability for them to be able to also be certified to teach somebody else those principles.
Hmm.
They keep spiraling out within the community. So maybe having a place where somebody could go with our principles, but ultimately, where we're headed with all this.
Come on now.
We're looking to create grand commitment is the university. Okay.
Yeah.
And the segue into that university is boxable homes. So we're working on that. That's separate. We don't have to get into that now. So really those principles we could test out when we have that smaller modular
Mm,
home to prove them out, to make sure that they do work.
yeah.
I think that there should be a neighborhood watch, should be somebody that runs point within the community there that could actually utilize the wave principles safely and also work with the police too as a point of
Mm,
contact too. Because one thing is you want to make sure safety isn't, is
yeah. 100%, bro.
um, so yeah, and it's also training, digital training that people have access to. Anybody could, if they're interested and they see what's happening, it's really connecting people to the people, the path to the
Mm,
person, because it's filled
yeah.
us up so much. When you connect it, I had an experience. I was telling you not long ago. This was just the other day, really a couple of days ago, where it was somebody that would be sitting on the border or working landscape, a guy from Mexico that I would never speak to, not because I was
Yeah.
hated that person or was racist, but because he was not in my uh, privy,
Yep.
or, in my lane. And I connected to his heart, hugged him. He cried, told me stories I had no idea were happening in the community.
Mm,
So it
it's
opens
crazy.
you up. And also, there's an energy to it where you can get knowledge. You could actually learn more. And that's how you learn more. You learn more for people because brain capacity is not enough to be able to receive all the digital information, I think, too. So there's many things that connecting to people does that are a benefit,
Yeah,
but with that, as far as implementation, I think it may be a community center or having somebody that a hub where the principles are known and people could talk about it and then act them
yeah,
out
that's
in the
good
community.
stuff.
It's got to be proactive though, man. It's got to get out there.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. That's a good talk, man.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good one. Good one.
No, guys, we don't want to hold y'all, but for every post that you see, you're going to see an in-depth talk from Jeff and myself on what this title really means, and we're going to expound on this so that you can get a clarity and you can get an understanding of what's really happening on the ground, and how you can actually take what it is that we're saying and apply it to your community and apply it to your workplace, whatever the case may be. So, Jeff, if you got anything else to say, let's get it, brother.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, Javon. I think it was well said. And we love you guys. And we're doing this for the pure reason one, to serve God. Those who know the Spirit, Wave is the Spirit. And also, we want everyone to know that we accept anyone, any person into the university. So, don't think that that is a factor at all, as long as there's pre qualifications and the person would want to, and at that
Yeah,
time. So your religion would not make, or your faith would not, matter. What would matter is your purity in yourself and what you're looking to do, because the goal is to get everybody at the university out feeling their best selves, so
yeah,
they can get after the spiritual. So, with that said, I think the Tide Talks are going to be something else as we go along and we keep doing this thing. We really appreciate you guys. You take care. Have a great one. Looking forward to many, many, many more. Take care,
sure.
guys.
All right, guys.
Peace.